Hey, welcome back.
We're back.
That's it. That's the intro. Nothing important happened last time, so let's just hop into it. When I awoke, I had a headache. A fitting punishment for the desire to throw away God's gift. I dragged myself to my feet and looked out of the window. The sun had just set, from the looks of things. I had likely missed supper, although I didn't much mind. I had very little hunger, and I'm sure that my presence would have made Bridget and Violet's first meal at the Abbey a disaster. I sighed and set about getting dressed once again. I still had to meet with Angela, a prospect that did not thrill me in the slightest after our earlier encounter. I winced as my frock draped over me. And Margaret and Catherine with a K had invited me to speak to them as well. I had so many appointments to keep, and not a shred of the will necessary to follow through. Oh boy, I know that feeling. I adjusted my hood and exhaled deeply. I was dressed and as ready as I ever would be to meet my unlikely investigation partner. I stepped out into the dorm hall. A fire had been lit, but there was no one lingering there. I could hear voices coming from the landing, however. I walked out into the hallway and saw a gaggle of sisters standing in front of the Misericorde door.
I think it is only fair that we let our newest sisters in tonight. It would be such a fitting end to their first day here.
I'm not so sure. Is that really appropriate?
Why wouldn't it be? I'm the same age as Flora, and she says that she's been in before.
I won't do it, but I'm going to do it once.
I would certainly enjoy it. Me too.
Young kids' night.
It's only fair that I get in too.
What do you mean, only fair?
Because I haven't been in ages.
You missed out once, which is how it usually works anyway.
Right, so it is my turn to go in then. Glad we agree.
Eustace sighed.
So that's Bridget, Violet, Flora, myself, Eustace, Darcy. Come to think of it, can we not add one more tonight? If half are allowed inside at any time, our ranks have grown enough to accept another inside. Hedwig, would you like to join us?
I'll give up my seat up for someone who didn't get a chance last time. Adela looked disappointed but did not say anything. As I began to descend the stairs, Margaret and Catherine with a K emerged from below.
Margaret, Catherine, we have one open space in the Misericorde tonight. We have prior engagements, alas. That's right. You'll join us later, Hedwig?
Yes. I continued down the stairs to escape any further logistical conversations. I could hear Adela complaining out loud that they might have to invite Angela at the rate things were going. I wanted to shout back up the stairs to share the good news that she too would be busy tonight, but I kept it to myself. Perhaps Moira or Marta or Charity would join. I didn't much care. As I walked toward the meeting spot Angela had proposed, I remembered what she had told me about the others and shivered. I might have been resigned to allowing myself to be fawned over, but I did not have to appreciate it. The idea of spending a drunken night of revelry with women who had bets placed on my chastity filled me with an indescribably dark feeling. I could feel the hook in line growing taut. I could see Angela in the shadows ahead. She was wearing a large traveling cloak over her robes, an idea I became increasingly jealous of as the night grew colder.
Do we get a new Angela sprite?
No, what that we'd be so lucky. What that we would be so lucky.
Very prompt. I am surprised.
Did you retrieve the book?
Of course I did. Come, we can talk in the garden.
She did not give me time to respond. I followed her path toward the hedgerows.
You were absent from supper. I take it you were convalescing after your little escapade?
If you must call it that. I am rather cross with you, I'll have you know. You might well have blown our entire plan to smithereens.
Calm yourself. I was simply going to express that you were lucky to miss supper. I don't think there was a single moment of silence.
Oh, gosh.
Those new oblates and Flora dominated the entire meal with their babbling.
Well, at least Flora has friends her age now, right?
Oh. I couldn't help but giggle. That does sound excruciating.
You don't know the half of it. I might have to avoid the refectory altogether if their behavior isn't curtailed.
Don't you mean rectory?
No, it should be called the refectory, but it was built to be a rectory.
What? Wait, what? Okay, hold on. Nope. My church knowledge is failing me here. What is the difference here? Did you knock my mouse away?
Yes, because I was looking for my phone to look up the thing, and then I realized I don't know where is my phone.
All right, so rectory, by definition, is a rector's house. How does that help me?
And what's a rector?
And what's a rector? I hardly know her. One that directs a leader, a member of the clergy, as of the Protestant Episcopal Church in charge of a parish. A Roman Catholic priest directing a church, or with pastor, or no one who's pastor. Okay. So, like, someone in charge.
And what's a
So a rectory is a benefice held by a rector, or a residence of a rector or parish priest.
All right.
Okay, and then what is a refectory? A refectory, and I'm reading these off of the Merriam-Webster dictionary, by the way. A refectory is a dining hall, as in a monastery or college.
I see.
Oh, okay. So the refectory is the dining hall, but the rectory, it should be called, but it was built to be a rectory.
So it was built as a residence for a priest, but there isn't one, and they use it as a dining hall.
That seems to be the long and short of it.
Yep.
Funny that they've just been used. We've just been having that word used wrong and just didn't know it.
The shorter name stuck, I suppose. No doubt the sisters of this abbey have always been slightly dull.
Oh, so they call it...
I am surprised you hadn't noticed the error.
I just went along with what I had heard. So much for my boundless knowledge of abbey building plans. I do often miss having private meals.
You once took everything privately. I sometimes find myself feeling envious. Perhaps I should become an anchoress.
She stopped and turned to face me now that we were deep between the hedges.
Wouldn't that be amusing?
I suppose it would be.
I don't know that would make Angela happy. Like, true. I think Angela is currently pissed off at a lot of the sisters around here, but I don't think she would be this pissed off unless she wanted on some level for things to be moving smoothly and to be in a way where she could just exist alongside the other sisters. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't think she would be... I think it seems like an easy solution to not the actual problem.
I was bewildered. I could scarcely remember a conversation with Angela that hadn't felt like a duel, but she was attempting, at the very least, to be friendly. It did not suit her. I was concerned. So, the book?
I retrieved it with ease while you were all away.
Can I have it back, then? I am eager to get back to work.
That would be a poor idea, I think. We discussed how much of a risk it would be for you to continue so openly. What if Eustace saw it in your room? We have no locks. She wouldn't even need to be particularly paranoid. She might just happen upon it if she were to enter your bedroom for any reason. I know I told you to stick close to her, but I did not expect you to whore yourself out for the cause quite so quickly.
I did not! That is not what happened, and it shan't be happening.
Really now?
I know it sounds ludicrous, but Eustace's story earlier, that really was what happened.
Tell me all then, in exacting detail.
Isn't much to tell.
Then you'll be finished with the story quickly, and we can move on.
I was ill, as you saw in the chapel. Imbalanced humors, Moira said. She told me to rest, and I tried to. I really did, but I was full of some strange energy and could not fall asleep. So I went for a walk around the abbey and felt compelled by a strange sensation to sneak about. And the rest, well, you saw. I feel humiliated, Sister Angela. I'd rather not belabor.
What?
Power move?
What the fuck?
Power move?
This is definitely the least predicted reaction in this conversation so far.
I was not expecting that of all things. I mean, yeah. How do you respond to that?
I was just telling them a story, and suddenly they bared their new body at me. What do I do? I tripped over my words as Angela opened her cloak to reveal her naked body underneath. I was so shocked that I could have fallen over, but my hook and line drew taut and kept me upright.
You have a sickness, Hedwig. I see it in your eyes.
Sister Angela! Cover yourself!
You are in the grip of some devilish hysteria. Where it came from I cannot tell you, but I can plainly see how thoroughly it controls you.
No!
I know your kind. You would throw off all your clothes and responsibilities and run into the woods if you had the opportunity. You would seek to join the Celts or some witches in the woods and live feral. You dutifully shunned sin and pleasure for 20-odd years, and the devil had a remarkably easy time getting his claws in you as soon as you stepped outside of your cell.
How are you helping right now?
It is not your fault. In fact, I pity you. I have struggled with similar proclivities. The Superior couldn't have known, but she made a grave mistake choosing you for this work. She treated you like some wretched invalid and pulled you off the street to be her sin-eater. But Linbarrow is an ocean of sin, and your kind is all too eager to plunge into the depths. You never had a chance. I have only just kept my head above water while I have lived here, managing the same affliction you let get the better of you today.
Oh, really?
Am I correct, Hedwig?
No! No!
Yes, I am. I know I am, because you haven't looked away from me.
I have to look down at the dialogue box. Otherwise, I can't know what you're saying. It's not my fault that the dialogue box is directly in front of... She closed her cloak.
What are you feeling right now, Hedwig?
So confused.
Are you relieved that you can no longer see my naked flesh? Or are you hungry? Have I relieved you by hiding myself? Or do you feel as if I have taken your plate away from you mid-meal?
I had nothing to say. I was trembling, terrified, and sick.
I am right. I see it in your eyes. You look like a starving dog.
How else am I like a dog?
You're funny sometimes.
Sometimes.
But a dog can be trained.
Really? You promise?
Are you committed to finding the truth, Hedwig? Can I count on you to conduct your half of our investigative work? Will you do whatever it takes?
Yes, yes.
You have sinned, and will sin again in the course of your investigation. Lying, stealing, and God knows what else. And you have in turn driven me to sin as well. I have stolen for you.
I am sorry, Angela.
Do not apologize. We must accept these sins if we are to find the truth in this cesspool. For Catherine's sake, I would do anything. She meant the world to me, once, before she was taken by madness.
Madness again. And so and I don't see her and Eustace seeing eye to eye on a lot of things. So the fact that they both have a similar prognosis for what was going on with Catherine.
Yep.
That is fascinating.
I would spend the rest of my life on my knees, repenting for every sin I committed on the path to finding justice for her. Would you?
Yes.
I don't believe you.
Yes!
Again?
Yes! Angela looked me up and down with calculating disdain.
Good. Then kneel.
This isn't helping the...
Ah!
I fell to one knee, overwhelmed with strange emotion. I bowed my head to her.
Dang. Where'd she get the sword from?
I know, right?
I know, or is that just a knife
just
and it's
her
the
knife?
angle? The camera angle.
I felt a cold touch on my shoulder and saw a flash of light. Angela held her dagger against my collarbone for a moment, then moved it to the opposite side of my head. Am I being knighted? I thought this was a puppy play thing. I'm not against it. It's just, we should have negotiated all of this first, Angela.
Then I take you as my knight, Sister Hedwig. We will uncover the truth. If we have to burn Linbarrow to the ground to find it, so be it. I will prostrate myself before God and beg for forgiveness for the rest of my life. And you may pray beside me.
I didn't think you had one of those.
I will guide you out of the darkness as I seek my own salvation, because as pitiable and wretched as I once found you, I see the same illness in your eyes that once gripped me.
I rose to my feet, shaking. I would just want to be free of all this madness.
Then follow me.
Okay. Do I have to be like a dog when I'm following you still, or can I? Is that an
Uh-oh.
option?
A cure for hysteria.
We traipsed back through the garden toward the cloister. I kept sneaking glances at Angela's heavy cloak. Every now and then the manner of her steps would shift the fabric and reveal the shape of her body underneath just for a moment. Oh my God, I am quite drunk. To be frank, I don't even know if this is how I felt in the moment. But it is an experience I have recounted to myself many, many times in my head. In moments of weakness. Oh, don't sound so surprised. I have momentary lapses of judgment, even now. To tell you the truth, I am back in this cell for the purpose of my own safety, aren't I? My own well-being. A place to account for my many sins and repent. I pray every day and accept my due gladly. But every now and then, I think, well, what's one more little sin? I will be here for a very long time. As long as I am improving at a rate greater than I am adding to things I repent for onto the pile.
What a philosophy.
Again, real good place coded, right? Real, like, I've sat there and done the math. And
Sin utilitarianism as well.
yep.
As long as I'm doing a little bit more good than I am sin.
I don't think
fine.
that it's meant to be like praiseworthy acts are meant to be a balance you can cash in on.
Yep.
I don't think that was ever the point.
As much as I loathed to admit it at the time, Angela was correct about me. I had been neck deep in evil since I had joined the congregation, and if there was any hope of finding the truth, I would need to navigate these waters intentionally. My time in my cell, I thought, had fashioned enough armor for me to survive anything. But my raw scriptural knowledge was simply overwhelmed by the outside world. Pure white snow trampled by the footfalls of fallen women. I don't mean to bore you too greatly, but my mind did drift to Aquinas. I was having second thoughts about what I had just agreed to while swept up in Angela's compelling theatrics. Shaky as my faith had become, I still believed in right and wrong, but I did calm myself thinking about the relative nature of goodness. Not in the sense that goodness is relative to the world it exists in, but in the sense that it is relative to the creature that exercises it. I wanted to do good things. I was an imperfect being, and striving for beatitude was in my nature. Sin is inexcusable, but it is forgivable. I could repent for sins, and if my sins resulted in a truly good work, justice for Catherine with the sea, and the defeat of the evil that killed her, I reasoned that I was justified. I could and would repent and account for my choices. I believed that I was making the best possible choices available to me, even if I was being forced to draw from a quiver full of sins. The evil that had killed Catherine with the sea. I could not think about it for too long. Every day I was surrounded by women who might have killed her, or might know something about who killed her. As Angela's cloak revealed her swaying hips in front of me once more, I became embarrassingly distracted. I felt the hook tug at me. Eustace had been mocking me when she suggested this by the stream, but perhaps I truly had been possessed. I thought about Flora's demonic circle. Had its evil touched me? Is that why I felt so compelled by perverse thoughts? Angela turned at the steps to the refectory and walked up to the door.
I see, correcting ourselves now.
In here.
In the refectory?
Where else would you suggest?
I don't know. One of our rooms or the cellars?
You know as well as I do how much traffic passes through the cellar, and the dormitories seem like a poor place to conduct an investigation into our fellow sisters.
I suppose you're right. We entered the building. It was pitch dark at first, save for a beam of moonlight illuminating the long wooden table. Angela searched around the corners of the room for a candle. Eventually, she found one in a cabinet against the wall.
How did she light it? Lit it with what? That's not a trivial thing. How do you light...
With her Zippo, of course.
Okay. Angela pulled out her Zippo. I'm sure there's an explanation for it. It's just a weird detail to gloss over. Like, how does one light a candle if there's not a fire going and they don't have a fire starter? Is it like one of those things that, like... I know sometimes, like, I've seen these weird devices that you can place over top of something to generate a spark. Like, and you, like, kind of, like, grip them, and then there's a little cup at the end, metal cup at the end. And as you do it, this metal thing scrapes across the bottom of the cup and generates a spark, and you can kind of put that over something to generate a flame, but I don't know if that was a thing. I don't know. I don't need to be hung up on this detail. We'll move on now.
I am curious now, though.
Aren't I? Oh, and also... I also like the occasional reminder of, for all of her authoritativeness, how fallible Hedwig is.
Yep.
Even in something as easy as something she should have known this was called a refectory and not a rectory. And yet she just kind of went along with it without questioning it, right? So, I don't know. Maybe that's an maybe it's an object lesson for some things that Hedwig might be taking for granted. Anyway.
She lit it and placed it atop the table and invited me to sit down.
Now then.
Ah! She reached under the table and produced my workbook. You left that in here while we spoke?
I kept a close eye on the door while I waited for you.
But we went to the garden.
And the book is still here. Can we move on?
Of course. She splayed the book out on the table and flicked through the maps I had already completed.
You had a somewhat admirable idea before Eustace found you out. There is an important element you have overlooked, however.
What is that?
You have been asking the others about the morning Catherine's body was found. While I am sure there might be some contradictions to be discovered there, you have neglected to ask people about the night prior.
Oh, I felt impossibly stupid.
Margaret had shared some details in her testimony with us about the night prior, right?
Yep.
Talking about who had been in the Misericorde and whatnot.
Yep. Yes. Oh.
She reached out to flip the pages once more.
Wait, she's just staying like that the entire time?
Yep.
Wait, okay, so I thought it was like just part of that scene, because I noticed back in the CG she went back to the, tits halfway out angle, but no, she's just staying like this the entire time. She, will you focus, Hedwig, if we give you a little side boob? A little bit of tasteful side boob?
I've conquered homosexuality and perversion and become normal. You can tell that I'm normal by how much time I spend naked around other people. This isn't even doing anything for me anymore because I'm normal, right?
Angela. So how long until these two wind up hate fucking?
Oh, instantly. And that, I feel like I was so convinced it was going to be like an arc about Hedwig and Moira.
Eustace? No, Moira.
And it seems we're getting a hard left turn into the Hedwig and Angela pairing, which I would never have predicted until just
And that's how you know it's good.
She reached out to flip the pages once more. I found myself searching for a glimpse of her breast in the candlelight.
Eyes up, pervert.
You have assumed that she was found in the morning immediately after her death. She might have died at any point during the night.
That's a much more difficult question to pose to people, though. I imagine a murderer with any sense would immediately talk bulk if I asked where they were that night.
Yes, and of course everyone involved or not would have an easy answer they could send you away with. I was asleep. It would be a lie, of course, but a fairly unassailable one without proof to the contrary.
I leaned on the table and held my head in my hands. Had all my work thus far really been useless? I hadn't yet a chance to compare the stories I had received to each other before Eustace took the book. Perhaps there's still a chance I've captured something important?
Not that I can see.
I groaned. Margaret and Catherine with a K proposed a meeting later. I already have Margaret's story, but Catherine said she was moved by the idea of chronicling Catherine II's last moments. The corners of Angela's mouth flickered.
How fortuitous. No doubt those two will have practiced their stories together, regardless of whether or not they're involved.
I realized something. Come to think of it, I already know Catherine with a K's story. Catherine the First, I mean. Angela raised an eyebrow. I felt terrible exposing Catherine with a K's secret, but this felt necessary. Catherine had a visitor the night Catherine II was killed. It was James.
Come now.
She was so reticent to tell me this that I can scarcely believe it was a lie. In fact, when I visited James in the hospitalum, he told me the story first, and Catherine with a K admitted it after some convincing.
But Darcy found his bloodied cloak.
She did, didn't she? When I reminded Catherine of that, she insisted that she was with James the whole night and that he did not bring his traveling cloak with him. It was left in his cart, according to him.
So Darcy lied? What reason would she have to do that?
I don't think that means Darcy lied. It means his cloak was bloodied and put somewhere else for some reason.
I have no idea. She doesn't seem the type.
She hardly seems able. But you should follow up on this with her.
Well, rude. I suddenly remembered something Darcy had said many days ago now. There is another element of Darcy's story that is not consistent. Come to think of it. She took me out to visit the sheep not too long ago and we talked about all of this. She mentioned that she had been tending to the sheep the morning Catherine with the C's body was found, and that she found the bloodied cloak on her way back to the Abbey. Did she say that?
If she said that, I missed it.
But she also mentioned seeing and selling smoke, and I just realized. I reached for the book and flipped through my completed notes. Only Charity and Adela mentioned anything about smoke so far.
That is rather odd. I remember smelling smoke. I did not think much of it in the moment, a mishap in the kitchen, I presumed. But if Darcy had not started cooking yet, as she was returning from the hills...
So if she noticed it and felt it was outside the ordinary...
That is something.
Angela tilted back in her chair and let out a horrid squawking laugh.
Ha! James may be spared the gallows because he fell in with that fucking whore. Life is full of mysteries.
She seemed rather upset. What is it that you dislike about Catherine with a K so much? Angela narrowed her eyes and folded her arms across her chest under her cloak.
Sister Catherine believes in nothing but her own pleasure. She is a wastrel and a betrayer. I have no time for her anymore.
Understood.
Betrayer? I'm just saying.
What if you're right? What if you're right?
What if I'm 100% right?
Sister Catherine has been given many chances over the course of her career at this abbey to turn her life around, and she insists on taking every opportunity she can to indulge herself. She has the same beast inside of her as you, only fattened up without shame. It will be very easy for you to get what you need from her.
She spoke with such force that the candle flickered. We sat in silence for a moment while Angela composed herself. Finally, she spoke again.
This works in our favor, however. She is an easy mark. Have your meeting with Margaret and Catherine tonight. Tomorrow, speak to Darcy, and then come and find me. I will talk to the superior and arrange for us to go and talk to James.
What else do we need from him?
Now that we are working together, I would like to ask him some questions of my own. And we should ask him if he remembers smoke.
Ooh.
I nodded. Speaking to Darcy might be difficult. She and Eustace are so close.
Find her in the kitchens before breakfast or something then. Catch her in the hallway. Apply yourself.
Angela spun the book back around to face her and she flipped through the pages once more.
The mentions of smoke must matter, although how, I do not know. We must close this gap and find out exactly who does and doesn't remember it.
She looked gravely concerned.
Well, we have a plan of action. Can I trust you to enact your part?
My part? What was she doing again exactly? Yes, of course.
Good. Tell me all about what you find, and I will reward you when it is done.
What? A Scooby snack? She snapped the book shut to punctuate the conversation before I could ask what she meant. Can I have that back?
I think this book has likely outlived its usefulness. It is more of a liability than a boon now that we have determined a key element in these stories. I shall hand it off to the superior to dispose.
That seems remarkably short-sighted. Like, I get her angle about it being a liability for someone to just see everything you've been thinking.
Yep.
But also, y'all didn't notice that inconsistency about the smoke until a very long time after recording those stories. Yep. I think tossing it out is very short-sighted at this point.
But... Angela raised a hand and I stopped.
Thank you. Good night, Hedwig. You may leave first. We should not be seen walking back to the dorms together.
I nodded and made for the door.
And Hedwig?
Ah! Yes?
Do whatever you can.
Of course. The further I got from the refectory, the tighter the hook inside tugged at me. Part of me wanted to sprint back to her and beg her to explain herself, but I felt more compelled to do the right thing and attend my meeting with Margaret and Catherine with a K. As demanding as my twin was, I could tell she was as curious as I about this reward.
Is this a new background?
I think so.
Oh, it's the lower part of a door.
Oh.
I was having a hard time resolving that in my
Yeah.
brain. I don't know about you, but yeah. No, so this is the threshold of a doorway, and then the underneath the door.
As I passed the Misericorde, I could hear uproarious laughter and loud voices muffled through the doorway. All of them sounded young and exuberant. Perhaps Angela had been right about how much the newcomers talked. I sighed and continued onward toward the dorms. I wasn't quite sure to expect when I knocked on Margaret's door. Today had been a whirlwind of activity, and I hoped that I wasn't about to collapse again in front of these two. I could hear a musical instrument being plucked. I knocked again.
Do come in.
Ah! Ah! They weren't kidding about tasteful bush.
Hi there, Catherine and Margaret. Margaret just prefers to watch, I suppose.
I opened the door and almost choked as I entered. What were the odds? Ah! I shut my eyes as fast as I could. Curiosity begged me to open them again, but even after Angela's little I was stunned. I was not used to seeing naked flesh unannounced. I should leave.
Nonsense. I invited you in.
Well, yes, but...
Would you mind looking at me while we speak? Pay her no mind, Hedwig. This is just something she does. Did you hear that? Something I do. As if I'm the only girl in the whole wide world who appreciates a breeze every now and then.
Margaret continued blithely, never taking her eyes off of her mischievous friend.
We're glad you're here, Hedwig. Catherine just enjoys making people uncomfortable.
I actually do buy that about Catherine. I'm not saying that's her only motive in this particular instance, and that she wouldn't also say yes if things came to that. But I do buy that she enjoys making people uncomfortable and would just get nude for no reason other than to make people uncomfortable, right?
It's a game she likes to play. Of course it is, and I'm rather good at it.
Well, in that case, consider the game won.
Huzzah!
Margaret finally turned toward me.
We fancied having a little chat with you. That we did. Margaret explained your plan to fill in Catherine II's lost work, as it were. Very noble. I'd love to do my part.
Yes, you said that before. Margaret gestured to her desk chair, which I took gladly. You actually told me your story already, didn't you?
Did I? I must have forgotten. I'm sure I must have left a few things out. It wouldn't hurt for me to go over it again, surely?
I glanced back and forth between Margaret and Catherine with a K. What were they doing? If either of them had any involvement in Catherine with the C's death, surely they realized how suspicious this was. I suppose not, but...
Oh, very well. I did tell you my story and I told it true, but you can't go and write all that down in ink, can you? How embarrassing it would be. And I was thinking, and Margaret agrees, that it would make for a better story if some of the more sordid details were replaced with something more pleasant. Just so you know, this is all Catherine's idea. You helped.
Very well, but what would you have me replace it with? You were in rather close proximity to someone of great interest to the whole affair.
Yes, that's just the thing, isn't it? I can't bear thinking about what people years from now would think of me if they read all that. I would look like a strumpet at best, and once they lopped the poor boy's head off, I fear they might start concocting tales of my involvement.
They?
My terrible hangers-on, Hedwig. You might think me petty, but I have a long list of enemies who would stop at nothing to dig up dirt on me and spread it all around.
She might be exaggerating how long that list is, but there is a kernel of truth here, right? At least if we believe her that she was framed for her husband's death, then that's not incorrect.
Yeah.
Again, she might be exaggerating just how long that list is, but I guess at the core of it, like, there's a kernel of truth here.
Sticking me in this convent wasn't enough for some of them. Did you know that for the first year or two I was here, I was sent reams of hateful letters? Someone even tried to break in and attack me.
Wait, what? That's new. Okay. No.
It's true. It was a bit funny.
Okay. If it was a bit funny, then understood. There are two kinds of people breaking in. The I was scared for my life kind, and the it's really kind of funny now.
It was altogether harrowing. My life was in grave danger. He threw paint at you.
He threw paint at her?
A knife was next, I'm sure of it.
Paint isn't cheap.
Thank God for Catherine, too. Rest in peace.
What did she do?
Oh, this was around the time she was trying to turn us into some sort of militia. I thought it was an utterly pointless manly exercise, but when she saw that man chasing me with a basket of temperas, she leapt into action.
Where did he get the paints from? Why did he throw paint on you? Is there some symbolism to that I'm not picking up on? Or is it just, this is what I have and I can ruin your day with it?
Catherine, too, had been sweeping at the time. All I told that wretched artist was that I didn't want his awful portrait.
Oh, okay. Hold on.
She dispatched the fellow with 2, maybe 3 strikes, knocked him out cold, and then sent him back down the mountain after he came to.
Huh. A portrait that you came up to the Abbey to show Catherine with a K. And she said she didn't want it. And then you threw paint on her. And then started harassing her, and then Catherine with the C comes and is like, nope, none of that now. Huh.
He'd ridden up with the mail carrier, but she made him walk home. My knight in shining armor. Anyway, Catherine has enemies. People who are on the lookout for any false move of hers.
Whatever for?
To make me miserable? Who knows? I apparently haven't suffered enough for their satisfaction.
These are your political enemies you've mentioned.
I thought I might have alluded to this before. Yes, that is them, so surely you can understand my predicament. Would you please be a dear and write something else about me in those chronicles of yours?
I thought for a moment. A lie was a lie, but I was beyond being able to claim that I wasn't a liar. Certainly didn't want any harm to befall Catherine with a K, as strange and irritating as she often was. Well, it would leave my chronicle somewhat incomplete. I reasoned that Catherine had already given me her story about the morning the murder was discovered. I sighed deeply. I could agree to this. If anything, I felt slightly relieved. Angela had been rather dramatic when she had described what the others desired of me, but favors like this, I could handle. Let's say that I agree to do this. What would you have me write instead?
I haven't the foggiest. You're the chronicler, not me.
Fair enough. I decided I might try to press my luck ever so slightly. What can you give me in return? Catherine's eyes went wide and Margaret chuckled.
Oh, she's learning. She's rather rude. One shouldn't do good things expecting a reward. At any rate, I thought this
She waved one arm around her nude form.
might be reward enough. Nonetheless, Hedwig, I suppose you are entitled to greater compensation. Margaret, would you leave us?
Margaret snorted.
Very well. I wouldn't want to get in the way of your negotiations.
What are you talking about? Margaret, don't leave. If you leave, I'm so worried about what's going to happen, Margaret. Please don't leave.
You're my angel, Margaret. Congratulations.
Margaret left her room. Catherine patted the spot on her bed where her friend had been sitting.
Come a little closer, darling.
The hook obliged quickly, dragging me to Catherine's side.
Closer still.
Ah! There's hardly room. She tugged at my leg with surprising strength and dragged it onto the bed.
Straddle me, dear. Pretend I was going to say horse, but given the context, I would rather you didn't pretend anything of the sort, actually.
What is happening, Catherine? My heart was pounding.
Oh, wow, more Catherine nudes.
Gingerly, I obliged. I clambered onto the bed and sat atop Catherine's hips. I attempted to tuck my frock between my legs to keep us somewhat separated, but as soon as I was settled, Catherine idly tugged at the fabric, pulling it free from underneath my weight and ensuring our skin was touching. She reached for my wrists and held them firmly.
Now then, ask nicely.
I'm sorry.
Go on. I simply can't give you what you want unless you tell me.
Just gonna laugh and move on.
Well...
Spit it out. You were very confident a moment ago. You know, when I first saw you, I was hardly interested. Not really my sort, I told myself. But there's something undeniably arresting about you, dear, sweet Hedwig.
Make yourself available. Wasn't quite sure what was coming, but I was whizzing through calculations in my head. Hold on, I gotta do some algebra real quick. Can I borrow your breast? Perhaps it would be worth it. Catherine's thumbs brushed over the creases where my legs met my hips. I held my breath. What is your sort?
Men. There's just no substitute. That being said, since winding up here, I've learned I can never say no to a pretty girl asking nicely. So, ask away.
My legs were fidgeting and my muscles were tensing. I was being pulled straight down, the hook between my legs yanking me so violently I felt like I might be torn open. I stumbled forward, steadying myself on Catherine's bosom. Ha! I tripped and fell.
Do I have to censor that one little bit of areola there?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
YouTube is probably...
But the other side's fine.
I would not be surprised if YouTube had some opinions about not censoring the other side as well.
Okay. So you're gonna get 2 goat heads.
I'm honestly interested to see if we do successfully censor it well enough that we don't get an episode pulled.
If we do, I'll just re-edit it and put up a more censored version. It's not...
Assuming it doesn't kill our channel, right?
Who the hell cares about us anyway?
Their algorithm. Oh.
My breath was ragged. My face must have been bright red. I probably looked utterly crazed. The light caught her glistening eyes. I finally relented.
So that portrait that just flashed in was the one we saw in the one that she saw in the basement, kind of half finished.
Yeah.
I finally relented and began to...
And then a flash of the portrait, and then this.
Yeah, and the portrait... Well, that kind of recontextualizes it, doesn't it? The story that Catherine gave us. Not wanting that portrait that was brought for her.
If that portrait is
If it's
the
still
thing.
here and down there on an easel for something. No, that doesn't make sense. I still think it's Flora trying to capture Catherine with a C, but...
I leaned back and swung my leg back up and over Catherine. I staggered over to the chair I'd been sitting in previously and fell into it. Catherine sat up on the bed.
Are you feeling well?
I've never felt better. Just too much, too fast, I'm afraid.
You're an odd one. I thought this is what you wanted. Ever since you played so bafflingly coy after I caught you in the window.
I gazed across the room at her. She was beautiful. I could see why she seemingly bewitched so many men. If I were a man, and had I not heard the dreadful stories about her, I would not be opposed to marrying her. She was 10 or so years my senior, I guessed. My eyes lost focus, and I imagined what life would be like if I were such a man. Marriage. Where do we live? That mansion in the village still? Would we have children? I don't even begin to imagine bearing a child, much less raising one. All I could think about was seeing Catherine with a K like this in her bed, and in the hall, and in the kitchen, and in the garden.
Hedwig, I appreciate that this might be some sort of revelatory moment for you, but I have company at night more often than not. Could you be a dear and have your deep thoughts, I don't know, in your room?
I hope I did not offend you.
Offend me? No, I don't think so.
Really?
Really.
I just don't know what to do, and it all feels so...
Sinful. A few of the others had that problem at first. You get used to it. You'll find ways to justify it to yourself. Or so I am told. It was never much of an issue for me, I must confess.
So you and Margaret.
Obviously.
Who else? Catherine raised an eyebrow.
Nosy. Adela? Eustace can be fun when she's not in one of her moods.
Nosy proceeds to answer and list.
Darcy's attached at the hip to Eustace, but occasionally she'll get a little wild. Moira naturally.
Naturally? And no one's upset about all this.
Upset about what?
Far be it from me to endorse all this, but entertaining the thought, do people not get jealous of one another? Catherine blinked.
Jealous? None of us are married to each other, Hedwig. There's no honor to besmirch. Nobody is in love.
I should hope not.
Perhaps you spent too much of your adult life cooped up in that cell of yours, but it's not strange. Friends of mine used to have their midwives stimulate them in times of great need. It's a good treatment for hysteria.
What is? Catherine shot me a withering look.
If you want to speak to a doctor, go ask Moira.
I apologize.
No need. Now, where was I? My conquests. Margaret, Moira, Adela, Eustace, Darcy. Charity once when we were both incredibly drunk.
Ooh, it was a delight.
Similarly soused, I think I once made a pass at the superior, but she pretended not to hear it. And then there was...
Wait for it.
Catherine
Damn it.
too.
Damn it. Hold strong, Catherine Cross Angela. Fans, all two of us.
The blood in my veins turned to ice. Catherine II?
That's right.
That must have been so confusing. Was she calling your name or hers? Does one call their own name? I fell back in my chair. Tell me about her.
What's to tell? She was more ravenous than me. Anyone I've had, you can assume she had as well.
Including Charity?
No comment?
Tell me what it was like.
What it was like?
Yes. I had a pounding headache and the world scarcely felt real anymore. Angela had warned me about these women and she had been right. But I did not care. I wanted to know about Catherine with a C. I needed to know everything there was to know about what she looked like and how she felt.
Are you sure you wouldn't prefer I demonstrated?
She smirked at me and struck a pose.
I'm still up for it.
No. Just tell me about her.
If you insist. She was a few years my junior. She looked a bit like me, but with redder hair. Very red, actually. And she was wickedly funny.
Red hair, huh? Okay.
You heard most of this at her wake, surely.
You said a lot about her, but please continue.
I don't really know what else to say. She was a wonderful friend and a fierce competitor. She went a little mad, I think, toward the end. Something was weighing on her, and I never really found out what it was. I wish she would have told me, but perhaps it was something beyond my expertise. It made me feel rather frivolous.
What was she doing toward the end of her life? I heard that she was always up to something or other. projects and so on.
Yes, she was. She sequestered herself for a long time, planning this or that in the months before she died.
Ooh. Sequestered herself, planning this or that in the months before she died.
I'm not sure what she was up to. I wasn't privy. Very few were. I tried my best not to take offense. But right toward the end, I was let back into her schemes again, and I don't quite know how to put this, Hedwig, but if I had to describe her final project, well, it was you. She was very taken by you.
There was the ice water in my veins again.
She never stopped talking about you when we gathered in the Misericorde.
Thank you very much, Catherine.
Not at all.
I stood up groggily.
And, I usually take rejection very poorly, but I understand that you come from odd circumstances. Normally I would say you had wasted your chance, but if you ever change your mind...
Thank you, Catherine. If I ever were to change my mind, as you say, I might like to. With you. Catherine beamed and fell backward onto the bed.
I don't have Catherine beaming artwork. I'm not gonna bother her a second time for a second nun doing the same pose. If you want a Catherine beam, you could do that yourself. Maybe I'll just use the old one, but with Catherine's face posted over Moira. There we go.
I'm not so sure that Catherine's beam comes out of her hands, per se.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Moira's is definitely like the DBZ like beam, right? Whereas Catherine with the K's beam is definitely originates somewhere else.
That's what I like to hear. Now get out of here. I must cure my hysteria.
Perhaps I could watch. I could learn a thing or two.
Not on your life. Now get out. Ta-ta.
Hedwig said that aloud.
Yep.
Hedwig.
Yep. Uh-oh, internal monologue and external voice. Getting confused.
I winced as I shut the door. For a moment, I panicked. I hope that last exchange hadn't ruined our relationship utterly.
I don't think it did, based on everything she said to you about it not ruining your relationship and her being honestly very understanding of the circumstances. Not that it wasn't rude of her to also kind of put you in that situation in the first place, but all in all, I think you came out maybe neutral.
I scurried to my bedroom and closed the door. And that is all. I went to bed and fell asleep.
Sure.
Sure, Hedwig. Sure, Hedwig. That's all that happened, huh? Jesus.
I went to bed and fell asleep, and mysteriously, I woke up and the pillow was soaking wet again.
Funny
Can't
how that
explain
happened.
that.
All right, so before we move on, let's address a couple of things.
Yeah.
One, projects.
Projects.
Catherine, too, had projects. And her last... The way that they're just... Okay. The way that they described that last scene, Catherine 2's last project
Was Hedwig.
was Hedwig. Now, that's different. A project implies a level of follow-through and intention behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Last time we had talked about Catherine II's relationship with Hedwig, it had been kind of like how everyone was talking about, you know, how hot she must have been, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a betting pool going on about who was going to bet her first. At that time, I think I took that more to mean like I think at the time I said that was probably had a different valence to it because it was understood to be impossible.
Mm.
But that changes if Hedwig was a project. I'd say straight up Catherine 2 killed herself in order to make a reason for Hedwig to have to come out of her cell. Except for the fact that she wouldn't be alive to see it happen, so she wouldn't get to win. And
That would also be like, what would what would drive someone to go that far to get someone out of the cell? Like, you could convince me that's a thing that happened, but not because of a betting pool over who gets to sleep with her. Like,
if we're entertaining this, and I'm not saying this is my actual theory, but if we entertain this theory for a moment, we could say she was being driven mad towards the end of her life, right? Maybe she was tired of the things she could have and needed to have something she couldn't. It's not a very flattering depiction of her, but it's a possibility. And I think that maybe would lead her to that, but who knows? I don't buy that that's necessarily that's what happened, but it's an interesting thought to put forward. Anyway, I wanted to get on the same page about that since that that last scene kind of changed some stuff we had talked about before.
Yeah.
I awoke the next morning with a clear mind.
Yeah, that tends to happen after.
That good old post-nun clarity.
That post-nun clarity?
I hopped out of bed and set about getting dressed before I even realized what I was doing. It was only when I paused for a moment halfway through straightening my wimple that I fully became myself. I had a purpose today, a clear set of goals that I knew that I could accomplish. Despite my misgivings, and all-around confusion surrounding Angela, I at the very least felt far more motivated to deliver for her than I had ever had for the Superior.
Puppy girl Hedwig. So we decided that's her persona.
Yeah.
As I left my room to join the others on the way to the chapel, I pondered why. Angela was a few steps ahead of the throng of nuns, separated from the group. She glanced over her shoulder and caught my eye. I offered her a smile, but she turned away. There was the Angela I had known all this time. Still, despite our differences, Angela and I had more in common than I had considered until now. As she approached the chapel far ahead of anyone else, it struck me that she and I both stood alone from the others. Her ahead, and myself behind. Perhaps I should be further ahead with her. Two of us were the most pious and righteous women here.
I don't know. If we want to be real about it, I think there's something to be said in Adela's form of piety, where like I'm devoting my life to God, and I know what, and I am cognizant about what I am doing. Then there is Hedwig's holier than thou, will let myself get tempted, but we know. But when I do it, it's okay, kind of hypocritical angle, you know what I mean?
I brushed my robes flat across my hips. I was submerged in filthy waters, but perhaps Angela could grab hold of the line and pull me up to the surface.
Angela's gonna grab hold of something.
We can't. We have to make it through the rest of the game. There's so much more game left. We can't do this.
Inside the chapel, I briefly considered sitting next to Angela, but thought better of it. I sidled into my usual pew.
Mind if I join you?
Not at all.
Isn't that what you said last night, Catherine?
Margaret had snuck around to the other side of the pew to box me in next to Catherine. You two are just... Why?
Oh, hush.
Catherine and Margaret sat down, each put an arm around me.
I want some details. Catherine keeps insisting that she doesn't tell tales about that sort of thing, which is rubbish. It is not. I am a proper lady of noble standing.
That's actually unexpectedly kind of her to not share the fact that Hedwig was having kind of a breakdown. That's... Because in Catherine's mind, it's better if everyone thinks they just fucked, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, because it's not that big a deal if that's what happened. I appreciate that, Catherine. Good on you for the discretion.
It would be impolite to gossip. This is how I know she's lying. She usually tells me about what's been going on in her bed, whether I want to hear it or not.
Please. You're in church. I was shrinking into my seat. I'd resigned myself to playing this part, but there were some lines I could not cross, no matter how camouflaged I became.
Listen to the poor woman, Margaret. We are in a house of God. Very well. I'm going to bother you about it as soon as we step outside, though.
Not acceptable. I had my orders. Loath as I was to say anything, I realized that I needed to give Margaret enough to get her off my case. Catherine and I, almost.
Almost?
She punched Catherine's shoulder.
Ow. You said you did it, you cheat. I said that we did something. Besides, I would argue that what happened counts. Unbelievable.
Margaret crossed her arms and made a show of sulking. Catherine leaned right across me to talk to her friend. I did my best to stare ahead and ignore them, but they continued bickering over the top of me. Do you all want me to move? You seem to have a thing going on where you boxed me in and on purpose, but I could just sidle over.
Our bits touched. I, for one, think that counts. That just sounds like you were hugging. I didn't realize you were a sexual notary. Honestly, Hedwig, can you believe this woman? You shouldn't let her tell tales about you. I'm not telling
She
tales.
explicitly didn't tell tales.
I mean, didn't we get the implication she had told Margaret?
The implication had been that she had refused to say anything to Margaret, and Margaret took that refusal to mean that they had.
Is that what was implied? Scroll back
To where?
a little bit more. You said you did it, you cheat.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Catherine did not stay quiet to Margaret.
But again, I still feel I want to give Catherine the benefit of the doubt here. I still feel like she was just trying to be either that or she's trying to win.
That seems to be the case. She is arguing her case quite strongly.
The chapel door opened and I was spared the rest of the argument. Both Margaret and Catherine straightened up and pretended to be sitting attentively as the superior marched down the aisle to take the pulpit. The bishop followed behind her and took his usual seat toward the front. I glanced around the room. Flora had been wheeled in by Darcy today. Drat. Darcy was meant to be responsible for Flora today. Checking in with her about the smoke in her story might prove difficult. Violet and Bridget were seated far away from Flora, which surprised me. They were whispering to each other and occasionally glancing over at Flora.
What did Flora do last night in the Misericorde?
Hope they hadn't already had a falling out. I caught my eye and quickly turned, appearing to giggle. I blushed a little, hoping my conversation with Margaret and Catherine hadn't carried too far. Whatever debasement I had to subject myself to, I couldn't let the younger set find out what was going on. The superior and I agreed on anything, it was this. They deserved a proper abbey. A real life of devotion.
I don't think that's why they came here.
Yeah, I don't think that's why they came here.
Service passed without much of note. As the sisters milled about outside, I kept an eye out for Darcy and Flora. Eventually I could hear the wheel trundling down the aisle. I stepped outside to greet them as they stepped out into the morning sun. Hello, Darcy.
Hello. Nice to see you too, Hedwig.
Oh, I apologize. I did not mean to be rude.
Uh-huh.
Flora seemed to be in a low mood. I wonder if she too had noticed the other young women sat away from her. I just really needed to talk to Sister Darcy about something.
Oh, can you wait? I would love to chat, but I am very, 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 very busy today. I am taking care of Flora while she paints.
Yep.
And then I have to attend to the garden and pick the last of the produce before it starts snowing. And then I have to cook luncheon. And then I have to take the sheep down the mountain for the winter, and then it will probably be time to cook dinner.
Offer to go with her when the sheep time. Offer to go with her on the. That's perfect. Get away from the abbey alone with her and have a chat while you're bringing the sheep down.
Darcy really did carry the whole abbey on her back. Maybe that's why her posture was so bad.
And then I will probably spend the evening going through the pantry just in case the builders are going to need anything. Bit worried, I must admit.
I am so sorry, Darcy. That sounds overwhelming.
Yes, I will be fine though.
I really must speak with you.
Would you like to walk down to the village with me? You could help with the sheep.
Walk down to the... Wait, did I miss?
Yeah, she's taking the sheep down the mountain for the winter.
Oh, sheep down the mountain. Oh, okay. Got it. Yep. That did sound like a perfect opportunity to talk to Darcy away from curious ears, but I was also meant to visit James with Angela. And even if it did work out, that would be a lot of walking, I thought to myself selfishly. I would love to. Anytime you get the opportunity to walk alongside some sheep, do it. Darcy's right. Sheep are great.
Wonderful.
Oh, and also, before I get too far away from it, she mentioned the clock tower and builders again.
Mm-hmm.
Someone in our Discord had mentioned another reason why the clock tower might be important, not as a clock tower.
Yeah?
And I wanted to bring it up because it's also sounded really compelling. The clock tower, it might not even be, say, a piece to prop up someone's ego. It might be more... The clock tower might be more useful as a line item than as an actual thing to be built, which is why so little attention is being paid to how it's actually gone about and so little resources put toward it. It might be that someone is laundering money somewhere, and having a clock tower that, on paper, might be helpful for that. It's more valuable as a line item, essentially.
Understandable.
Especially at a place where no one will go to check.
Oi, Flora! Want to spend the morning with us?
We're going to work in the cellar. Sister Adela said you should come and give us tips. Really? I mean, yeah. I've got some stuff I can do in there.
Flora relaxed a little, and Darcy smiled at me as she rolled Flora toward the cellar with Bridget and Violet in tow.
Yay, best friends forever.
Yay! If Violet's only going to show up this often, then I will happily give her the Kermit voice. As long as I don't have to do a whole soliloquy.
Everyone was filtering out to the cloister off to their daily tasks. I stopped cold. Daily tasks. I was meant to write my chronicles as usual, with Eustace no less. I sighed. I would make it as quick as I possibly could. I looked around the departing sisters and realized that Eustace had not joined us for service. Perhaps I could be alone for my writing, I thought. As much as I disapproved of skipping service, I relished the idea of not having to sit in close proximity to Eustace while I wrote. And what would I write? As I climbed the stairs, my stomach turned over.
You had 2 new oblates join yesterday. That's the easiest slam dunk you can get.
I was certainly not going to write about my evening with Catherine with a K, or my encounters with Angela. I hadn't written about my little excursion in the field either. What exactly could I write about? I was deep in thought when, halfway up the stairs, I could hear voices ahead.
Hiya.
Ah!
Hello, Hedwig. Off to work?
I'm getting better at that. It's reducing in volume every time. Now it's only in just a medium level. Ah! Indeed I am.
There might be a problem.
Problem?
Door's locked. Eustace is working on something and she's in a mood.
Oh dear. Stepped forward to try the door. It was indeed locked.
I wouldn't test her. We were trying to get in earlier to look something up, and she nearly bit our heads off through the door.
Okay, but it's my job to be in there. Oh no! I recoiled from the door, hoping I wasn't about to get another earful from Eustace.
And also, Eustace would prefer you could spend as much time as possible in her view, right? And I think there's a good chance she lets Hetty in because at least she knows where Hetty is and that she will be quiet and do her work. You know what I mean?
For a moment, panic thoughts bounced around my head. What if this was the thing that set her off for good? Thankfully, nothing happened.
Looks like you've got a free day.
It's quite a relief, to tell you the truth. Got rather a lot of other tasks today.
Oh?
I realized I had no good excuses. The superior wants to check in with me about my writing, and I think she also might want me to teach the new oblates a thing or two. I was getting too good at making things up, I thought to myself.
Sounds like her. Well, I'm off. I promised I'd help out in the cellars today against my better judgment.
Oh no. Perhaps I wasn't getting too good at making things up.
Oh, perhaps I'll join you. I have nothing to do this morning, and I wouldn't mind helping out with the sherry.
What did I miss here?
I don't know.
I was getting too good at making things up. Perhaps I wasn't.
Oh,
Is
she's
this-
headed to the cellar, but the oblates are going to be in the cellar, and Hedwig is not, in fact, teaching them a thing or two about the writing.
She didn't say it was immediate. Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah. Okay, I see. Sorry. It came out of nowhere and I hadn't connected the dots there. Thank you for explaining for poor old me.
Sure, I warn you though, it still tastes awful. Everything is a process. I suppose all three of us are headed back downstairs then.
Huh? Oh, yes, of course. Apologize, I was still thinking about the library. Stared at the door for a moment, wondering what on earth Eustace was locked up inside doing. Turned to leave with the others back down the stairs toward the cellars. I realized halfway down the stairs I might be caught in a lie if we happened to run into the superior outside of her office.
What do you two think of Violet and Bridget? I'm a bit surprised she didn't know she'd be shorn. Whichever one that was. I haven't gotten the names down yet. Violet is the tall one, and Bridget is the short one.
That's exactly opposite.
Wait, no. Other way around. Ah. Anyway, they seem a fine sort. A bit young. I doubt we'll be seeing much of them.
What do you mean?
They're around Flora's age, aren't they? They'll stick together. Thank goodness for that, honestly. Happy to have them, of course, but I'm not expecting to make new friends. Yes, to be honest, I was hoping they'd be closer to our age as well. Well, one day they'll be our age. But we'll be that much older. True. Although I think you can stop counting years after a while. At a certain point, you're just a woman. That's a funny way of looking at things, but I think I see what you mean. What about Marta and Charity, though? It's not like we spend as much time with them. Well, there's another threshold. You think there's just a certain point where one becomes old? Exactly. What's the threshold then? Whichever birthday Catherine is approaching.
We all chuckled.
That is... Boom, got him.
We arrived at the stairs down to the cellars.
Well, this is us. Have a good day, Hedwig.
You as well. I waved them off, hoping desperately that my lie about helping the new oblates wouldn't come up if they ended up working together today. The pair descended below. I exhaled, but it turned out that I couldn't stop acting just yet.
Oh, hello, Darcy. Cellar's popular today. Hello, you two.
She emerged from the darkness as Margaret and Moira disappeared, looking fairly cheerful.
Oh, hello, Hedwig.
Oh, greetings. What are you up to?
Oh, just dropped Flora off down there to do some work in the cellars. Bridget and Violet are there too.
Goodness, it is busy in there today.
Bit noisy, I must admit. Oh well, they are young.
Idle chatter with Darcy was always pleasant, but I had an opportunity I had to seize. Flora was more or less captive in that cellar. I could speak to Darcy first and then move in on her. Darcy?
Yes? Oh dear, you look rather serious.
A long time ago now. You told me all about the day. You know, day Catherine was found dead.
You have an interest in the body.
Not exactly. Something else. When we spoke, you mentioned something about smoke.
I remember. I did indeed.
Do you remember anything else about that?
Possibly. Why, though?
Well, I don't know if you've heard, but I've been collecting everyone's stories about that period of time. Since Catherine couldn't write about it, obviously. But I might fill in the gap. Think of a tribute to her, you know?
I see.
And the smoke just feels like a significant detail. If nothing else, it's quite an image.
I suppose it is. Well, there is not much to it. I was walking back to the Abbey, and I saw lots of smoke coming from the dorm chimney.
Dorm chimney, okay.
That tracks, because didn't we hear somebody, I think it was Eustace, talking about how there was a fire in the fireplace?
Yeah. She had mentioned something about that, yeah. And it felt like maybe someone was trying to burn something.
Yeah.
Okay, so it did come back to something we had talked about.
Is that significant? I mean, was it more smoke than you might have seen on any other day? From a fire being lit in the morning to keep the place warm?
I could not tell you for certain, but it does stick out in my memory. If memory serves, it would be a bit early for the morning fire, since we usually light that after service, even in the colder months. But I do not know. Maybe someone was cold and wanted it lit earlier.
Not as conclusive as I would have liked. But nonetheless, it's an important part of your memory of that day.
Absolutely.
Well, that was something at least. Be sure to note it then.
That's good.
Would you do me an immense favor?
What's that?
Don't tell Eustace I asked you about this. She has been a bit touchy about my asking about this subject.
That makes sense. She and Catherine were very close. I don't talk to her about it either.
Really?
Yes. They had big plans, grand ideas and so on.
Grand ideas, projects, big plans, a madness. What the hell was she up to? And why will no one give us anything other than an evasive answer about that?
We finally get there in Volume 3, and it turns out that Catherine just spent like 3 months holed up in an unused room trying to invent Gunpla 1,000 years early.
That's what part of me is worried that's what it's going to be, is that she's going to be like in her room thinking she's invented alchemy for a few months or something like that. That she's like found a way to turn anything into gold, and it's going to be this sad realization that she had really truly gone mad, and that there was nothing brilliant or insightful about what she was doing, and it was just kind of sad. But I don't know, that's the pessimist in me.
Eustace lost something when Catherine died, and I don't like how she gets when the subject comes up.
I understand.
I would just like for all this to be over. Sometimes I think I'd rather never hear about Catherine again.
This was a dour side of Darcy indeed.
And then I feel awful for thinking that. I don't know. I think filling in those chronicles is a good idea. Maybe then the matter can be put to rest for good.
Is there anything else you think I should add?
There was smoke and something felt wrong, and the people who were closest to Catherine were the quietest. That's what I would write, but I am not chronicler and certainly not a poet.
And the people who were closest to Catherine who were the quietest. And we know that she was keeping an inner circle in the months leading up. And that by her own admission, Catherine was only brought in very late.
Yep.
We don't know, to trust that, but it seems from her that seems to be the case. That's matching up with other descriptions of grand designs, right?
That is immensely helpful, Darcy. Thank you.
Of course.
Darcy, I never want to see you frown again. You are the greatest thing about this abbey. Please just...
I could hear the telltale sound of rain picking up.
Perfect timing, eh? Was there anything else?
Actually, if it isn't too much trouble, could you bring Flora back up here? Not right away. An hour, perhaps? I'd like to make the same inquiries of her.
Of course. I am sure she would be happy to help.
She shuffled back down the cellar staircase.
Didn't she just come up?
Yep.
Why did she go back down? Darcy!
I was alone with my thoughts for a moment. Those closest to Catherine were the quietest. That was a far more trenchant insight than I could possibly have hoped for. And just before a meeting with the superior, no less. Angela would be very happy with me, I was certain. It would make up for my being late. When I knocked at the door and spoke my name, it was Angela who beckoned me inside. Indeed, I could sense a touch of annoyance in her expression as I stepped into the room.
I don't know, just say you were talking with Darcy about this.
She, the superior, and the bishop had clearly started without me.
Greetings, Hedwig. Angela tells me you should have made some significant progress today.
Yes, in fact, I just had a very fruitful conversation with Darcy.
Good girl.
We're never going to be able to get through this game, are we?
What did you find out?
Well, the smoke. Has Angela filled you in on the smoke?
Yes.
Darcy confirmed the smoke felt significant to her.
Felt significant.
And that it was probably a little early to be seeing smoke coming from that chimney.
I also remember smoke. I believe I do, at any rate. It's a small and perhaps spurious detail, but it is something.
That isn't all, though. She also mentioned that those who were closest to Catherine were the quietest. When asked if there was anything else she thought bore mentioning in my chronicles.
Does that mean anything? Of course, Catherine's closest friends would be quietest after her death. They would be the most affected naturally.
I suppose that is true, but...
No, I think Hedwig is right. That is a significant detail. Explain.
Because there was no indignation or wanting to find the person, right? Just kind of a sense of quiet acceptance. And that might imply a level of knowledge about what went on.
Yep.
Right? No one's like, who did this? Let me at him. They're like, oh, this was so sad.
If you know who those people were, could we not focus on their stories? See what elements do and do not match?
You have it backwards. If there is some conspiracy those closest to Catherine are ashamed of, then they will have worked diligently to get their stories straight. We can pinpoint who those people are based on how closely their stories match.
Weird. I like the way you're thinking about it, but I admit I would not have considered it in that way.
Nor I. And I have a sneaking suspicion what might unite them.
And that would be... Angela shot me a disappointed look.
Smoke, Hedwig, or rather the lack thereof. You believe that the conspirators left smoke out of their stories on purpose. I would not be surprised.
Eustace mentioned fire.
The bishop, who had looked deep in thought this whole time, finally chimed in.
This is a very small thing to go on. That boy has been holed up in the hospitalum for far too long. I pity him despite his assumed crimes. Surely at this point it would be the just thing to do to bring him to the diocese. He could stand trial, perhaps this smoke story could be testimony. But I cannot see any reason to delay things any further.
I want this done correctly.
No, you don't. You want it done in the way that makes you look best. If you wanted it done correctly, you would have... Correct in this case does not mean right.
If there is even a shred of hope that James is innocent, I want it investigated.
But why, Mabel? Why? Nobody in the diocese will think any less of Linbarrow. What difference does it make if it was an outsider or an insider who killed poor Catherine?
What a cynical point of view, Bishop.
What a really... Yeah. I'm not saying I don't agree with the sentiment of what can you do about it, someone has to take the blame. But the idea that it doesn't make a difference if it's an outsider or an insider, that I can't even... I'm like... I can't even understand that viewpoint.
The truth makes a great deal of difference to me, and nobody could think any less of Linbarrow as it is. But if I win the day doing the right thing, the hard thing, rather than the easy thing, perhaps people might think more of Linbarrow.
The bishop sighed wearily and threw his hands up.
Very well. We can discuss this further later.
The superior nodded and retrieved a keyring from her desk and handed it to Angela.
You know the way to the hospitalum yourselves? Of course. Off you go then. May you find something useful.
Angela and I bowed, left the office. I could hear muffled arguments beginning as soon as the door closed.
And we'll have to see what they talk about with James
Next time.
if we ever get through. Oh, this is going to get harder and harder, isn't it?
Smash that like, comment and subscribe.